Sands of Destruction, or World Destruction, is Image Epic's fourth game directed by Ryohei Mikage. This is Image Epic's first game developed with Sega instead of Marvelous Entertainment. And Sands of Destruction is the point where Image Epic takes more creative risks. We can now find a pattern with how Image Epic releases games, and you can separate them into two categories: risky and safety. Risky Image Epic games are new IPs with a new battle system and rely on both name recognition and very aggressive advertising. For example, the composer for Kingdom Hearts and the writer for Final Fantasy VII teamed up to produce The Last Ranker. Safety games, on the other hand, are licensed games or sequels to risky games. You're not buying the Miraculous Investigation because you like Image Epic, you're buying the Miraculous Investigation because you like Detective Conan. Sands of Destruction is a risky game under these definitions. In an interview with Gamasutra, Sands of Destruction started when Mikage brought together a Sega producer, along with the writer and the composer to Xenogears, and said, "Let's make a great RPG." This is the exact same way Mikage got Luminous Arc started. And this is why I'm fascinated with Mikage. He's the "I'm putting together a team" meme, and he's not kidding. This team isn't together by chance. Mitsuda already worked with Mikage with Luminous Arc 1 and 2. Mitsuda and Kato already worked together to make Xenogears, among other games. Shimosato helped produce action RPGs for a game series that was known for strategy RPGs. Any mention of Sands of Destruction is followed by name dropping, and that's what Sega wants. And Mikage's experiences with Sands of Destruction would shape Image Epic's development until its bankruptcy. But for the moment, Mikage can stand tall and shake the heavens. The battle system in Sands of Destruction is similar to Xenogears. The A, Y, and X buttons progress through menus, while the B button returns you to a previous menu or ends your turn by defending. Every action costs battle points, or BP. You start off with 2 BP, and you can earn more under certain conditions. The easiest method is using physical attacks. For every 11th hit, you earn 1 BP. Critical hits and chaining spells also raise BP. If you earn enough BP in one turn, you can end your turn with a special attack. There are 2 kinds of physical attacks. Flurries are weak but high hit count attacks. They're the bulk of your combo. Blows are strong attacks that only hit once, but they can lead into a different combo. You can upgrade every attack in your combo. You can increase attack power, but reduce accuracy, and vice versa. With enough investment, you can boost critical hit rates, make it easier to juggle, or even combine attacks to save on BP. You can reset your build at any time with items, so there's no fear of committing to a build. Every character can also use 2 types of magic. Life skills are defensive, while blood skills are offensive. You can strengthen spells, but have them cost more SP, or reduce the SP cost and weaken the spell. Since every attack costs 1 BP, you can use 1 BP to cast a buff, another BP to use a physical attack, and then end your turn by defending. Even your special attacks give you the choice between a physical attack, a blood skill, or a life skill. If you don't want to use those, using items or defending also count as combo finishers. Random battles are fast-paced. This thing lies. You either one-turn an enemy, or you get one turn. Thankfully, we can cheat too. Let's go back to the BP mechanic. Every character is compatible with certain accessories. With the right accessories, you can have 3 BP every turn. But if you equip the wrong ones, you go down to 1 BP per turn. But it takes several battles for these changes to take effect. Even with the wrong accessory equipped, its effect won't be weakened. You can fight random battles with a good accessory to keep your starting BP high, and then swap to a bad one before a boss fight to maintain your high BP. You can also craft weapons with additional effects. If you need materials, just go to a shop. Items are never out of stock. Just keep talking to the shopkeeper. And if you think that's broken, you can grind for Morte's second strongest weapon in the first dungeon of the game. And don't forget, you get an accessory that boosts item drop rates in the area right before. You can even exploit the deaths of your party members. You can funnel experience into one character if the other party members are dead. With the right quip, you can earn 6 times the amount of experience in a single fight. Speaking of quips, There's special lines that a character can say in story that turn into equipment. Agen says,
"Yabai, nigeru zo!"
to instantly flee from battles, while Morte says,
"Totsugeki!"
which lets her go first. Most quips randomly activate. They can be unreliable, but it gives the characters more personality in battle, and it gives you another layer of customization. This game is made for Xenogears fans who bought the Ether Doubler at Nissan to raffle stomp the game with Ellie and then later with Billy. If you don't like to break games, you're going to be miserable. It's already frustrating that enemies cheat the battle system, and if they don't stop you, the dungeons will. Every dungeon has a navigation puzzle. They start off easy, but they get difficult very quickly. The first real dungeon is Fallenmire. There are color-coded barriers and switches. By the end of the dungeon, you have to pull an Indiana Jones to get to the boss. The Sky Jail is the first difficult dungeon. It's easy to get lost if you over-rotate the map or if you fall down a trapdoor. You could run straight to the boss, but then you permanently miss out on accessories. If you hated the Sky Jail, you'll probably hate the rest of the game. The puzzles and the enemies do not let up. And at this point, I'm going to talk about spoilers. Spoilers for everything on the screen. Strap in, it's about to get furry. The game starts with Zack Fair and a skateboarder trying to stop Vanessa from committing a hate crime. Wait, or is it Ellie high on drive? Don't think about it, let's talk about Kiria. They're really not trying to hide that Kiria is God. Kiria gets co-opted into a terrorist cell by Willy Trombone. To prove that Kiria isn't a terrorist, he sets off a nuke. Morty busts Rick out of jail. Pickle Bart can come too. The Sand People have waged jihad against the furries and want to destroy pofg. We rob a cat and his girl. Joke's on us, Bear Dog the Bounty Hunter forces us to work for Cool Cat. Willy Trombone tells us to kill the Primal Lords. We kill a pig trying to vor a kid, and then we rescue Agen.
There! Take that, you filth! Ah! Ah! Much more and you'll be lashing a corpse, Rajiv. You've made your point. That would suit me. Besides, I've got clearance to kill him. Though I'll not let him die easy, I promise you. I worry you enjoy this too much. He raised his whip to me. He deserves far worse.
Topi has a giantess fetish. That's kind of hot. So we kill a rare Pepe for an NFT, and then kill a sea serpent for an egg.
It must be done without delay. Are we agreed? We speak as one.
It comes to this.
I see no alternative. The destruct must be stopped at any cost.
Violence is often the only path to peace.
Well spoken. The salvation of our world must come first. We speak as one.
And then we get kidnapped by Alessa Gillespie. Billy Rhea Black can come too. Morte got sick, so we ask Wooly for help. But Wooly radicalizes Kiria by asking, why destroy the world? So who's the real terrorist here? Fucking freak. Jabberjaw, Bart Fatima, and Vague Longberg enter peace talks because the airborne leaflets say so. The anarcho-communist and the Nazi talk stats, while Kiria gets horny and butts the big one. Marbish shows up, and Citri fucks with Snow. Nabarius is pissed.
If you can really do it, then do it. You insult me for the last time. As you wish. Prepare to die!
Kyrie, this isn't something to joke about.
Stop him, Morte!
Oh!
What you say?
Some skink knows how to revive Kiria. Kiria committed suicide recently. Naja was pretty bummed about it. but Wooly thinks the world was probably more happy than the team is sad to lose Kiria. The total happiness in the world increased, so whatever. What the fuck? R3 swallows a cheeky sun, giving R1 the nuclear launch codes. Instead of destroying pofg, Morte wants to get rid of pofg, but rebuild it as Collard. Remember kids, if you want to fix someone, just kill yourself. Now that Faye desires the power, he can marb up and use Veltal Eid. And now everyone has to relive their childhood trauma. Look, it's a video essay. Cheapening the human experience is what you do. Agen watched his friend glow in the dark. Naja implies that mixed-race Japanese families are treated like zoo animals. Morte's such a psychopath she doesn't feel guilt. It turns out that Clog has been fucking with the mail and sicks the Clockwork Beast on us. The Arm King goes Full Metal Alchemist on us and wants to become God. And in order to rearm Deus, we need people. I mean spare parts. And then we kill Kiria's mom. Rick and Morty enter the third dimension to return the show back to the status quo. The story in Sands of Destruction is a mix between Xenogears and Chrono Cross. There are some interesting themes, like how the divide between beasts and humans are an analog to racism. It's not as preachy as Tales of Rebirth or Valkyria Chronicles because they ignore the racism subplot by endgame. And if you really read into it, the racism subplot is a front for Lycurgus Rex so he can... Actually, I don't know why Lycurgus Rex wanted to become God. The original draft was much darker. I wouldn't be surprised if the rewrite cut out scenes that would have fleshed out the world and the divide between beasts and humans. The other adaptations of Sand of Destruction have remnants of the original script. Partway through developing the game, but before the rewrite, Image Epic decided to advertise their game through an anime. The animation studio, Production IG, got a general idea of the story and branched off from there. In the anime, both Ria and Naja are part of the World Salvation Committee. Rajiv's character is written into Ria. Morte has a much deeper backstory, while Agen is completely irrelevant. It's basically a 13-episode commercial, but some episodes were great, like the episode with the fake World Destruction Committee. The anime can't decide if it's trying to be Trigun or something new, and the ending is so rushed it makes the game's ending look well written. The manga, on the other hand, is closer to the original script, and it's only 2 volumes long. It's the second disc of Xenogears, so if you liked that, you'll like the manga. There's even a radio drama adaptation too. The different adaptations to Sands of Destruction show a growing problem within Image Epic. Too much focus on advertisement, and not enough focus on the game. You're expected to break the game because enemies cheat. Bosses ignore turn order through defiance, and the battle boost can make their turn last for minutes. Your stats skyrocket with buffs. You can go from dealing no damage at all to one-turning an enemy with a single attack buff. If you grind for speed shoes in Fallenmire, the first real dungeon of the game, Topi becomes your party's dodge tank for the rest of the game. And at level 20, you can combine flurry attacks, turning a 3 BP attack into a single attack for 1 BP. Flurries are so powerful you'll never use blows, despite blows having unique interactions with bosses. You can cheese special attacks by mashing buttons. I don't know how you missed this during bug testing. Life and blood skills had too much overlap between characters. Topi's first life skill is a party-wide heal and a party-wide revive. He also gets a party-wide defense buff and a party-wide attack buff. Topi's special life skill is a party-wide buff to all stats. Let's compare to Morte, who has a party-wide heal, an attack buff that targets herself, and then an agility buff that targets herself. Her special life skill boosts her BP and buffs her attack. Let's go even further with Naja. He has a party-wide heal and revive, and an attack buff for all party members. His special life skill is a BP boost and an agility buff to all allies. Every character feels the same. Even quips overlapped, and they were supposed to make every character unique. Every character gets several quips to boost their defend command or reduce their turn delay. I thought quips were underdeveloped, especially the combat ones. The only quips I relied on were Tobi's experience boost and Agen's instant escape. Everything else had 2 specific use cases, or their effect was so weak I never noticed it. Customizing attacks only gave you one viable option. By maxing out attack power, you can boost your critical hit rate to deal even more damage. But if you max out accuracy, your attacks always hit. You can bypass any accuracy penalty with a high enough agility stat. Spells are even worse because there's no way to counter SP costs. You can increase your spell power, but then spells cost more SP. You can make spells cost 1 SP, but then they'd be so weak they wouldn't be useful. You can get both bonuses, but then you'd have to invest in the stat that weakens your spell power. So maxing out any attack ends up weakening it. Reserve characters do not earn customization points, and when party members join, they start off with 0 customization points. Kiryu and Naja get accessories that double their CP gain, but those accessories are incompatible with everyone else. For any other character, you have to choose between a low starting BP or grinding. Morte is the worst character in the game. She's useful early game, but she falls off quickly. Most flurry combos are 12 hits, whereas Morte's is only 7. Because you earn 1 BP for every 11th hit, Morte needs a high starting BP to keep a combo going. Her entire skill set fights against making long combos, so she's a bad physical attacker. Making Morte good is a sunken cost, and that's her character. Morte also gets a side quest throughout the game for armor upgrades. They're powerful when you get them, but it makes enemies target Morte more. But Morte's ultimate armor makes enemies avoid hitting her. It makes sense in story because it's see-through lingerie, but in game, it goes against how you're taught to use Morte with her older armor. Morte is so difficult to use that you're likely to give up on her. Before getting Kiryu back, Morte is the main character, and the only boss fight is Elephas Rex. He's one of 2 bosses without Defiance. The puzzle leading to the Tower of Light has no enemy encounters, while the Tower of Light is a short dungeon. Once you get Kiryu back, there's no reason to use Morte. Naja is a better attacker and a better support unit than Morte. Naja might need some level grinding, but there's a weird issue with random battles. Early game enemies show up in late game dungeons, but if you backtrack to older areas, you'll notice there are new enemies. The only reason to backtrack are for the optional side quests. When it comes to puzzles, I thought the difficulty was well paced. The Sky Jail is only difficult if you want to complete the side quests, and the Botanical Garden is easier with Ogden's new quip. You get a breather with the Azure Tower, and then the mirror puzzle is very difficult. The random encounter rate is greatly reduced for difficult puzzles, the depths of memory in particular. The endgame puzzle is just running around the same map, pixel hunting. There is a New Game Plus, but nothing carries over. In New Game Plus, enemies are stronger and give out less experience, but you can use the same exploits to beat fights. There's nothing new in New Game Plus, it's only there if you want a challenge. The American localization didn't even include New Game Plus. They missed out on an entire game mode. The game is subtle about New Game Plus, but I still don't know how you miss this. Despite this, I thought the localization was very good, especially coming from Luminous Arc 2. I wouldn't be surprised if they treated it well because Masato Kato was the writer. I noticed that the voice scenes were pretty choppy. Some lines have too little breathing room, but some lines have too much. It's a problem with how the cutscenes work in-game. Because the voiced cutscenes automatically proceed, you have to work with the time you're given. I didn't mind too much.
狼氏
匂う匂うぞ血の匂いが女貴様だな我が息子ラジフを殺したのは
鼻は利くのねさすが狼
Lupus Rex!
I smell the blood on you.
You're the one who took my son's life.
I'm impressed you can smell anything past wet dog.
The Japanese voice cast is an all-star team, while the American voice cast is less well known. But even for no-name actors, I thought they were great.
I'd choose my words carefully, boy. I've killed men for less.
Got it. Now's my chance.
I said freeze, Beast Slayer.
少年、言葉には気をつけた方がいい。俺はその呼ばれ方があまり好きじゃない。
はい。
この隙に。
動くなと言ったはずだ。重機殺しのモルテ。
The American localization replaced the J-Rock theme song with an original composition by Yasunori Mitsuda. It makes the game look more serious and saves money on licensing music. But now we don't see Naja dropping spaghetti. Sands of Destruction continues the image epic trend of dualities. We battle between preserving a flawed society versus destroying it all. The main characters struggle between following orders or thinking for themselves. But just like Luminous Arc, Sands of Destruction presents so many ideas, but fails to follow through with any one. The plot ramps up so quickly that not even the characters know what's going on. Even the ending is a cop-out. It's implied that Kiria and Morte make the world better, but there's no narration in the ending, and it doesn't really explain much. Humans are the dominant race, and the only beastmen still present are the main characters. Even if there was a drastic rewrite, it doesn't excuse dropping plot points. It's the opposite problem of Chrono Cross. There's too little explanation. Wait, no, do I really want that? Even if you didn't like the story, the cutscenes were impressive. It's similar to Xenogears cutscenes, where the camera pans and zooms. You can tell there was a lot of work to make Sands of Destruction look good. Sands of Destruction is the divisive parts of Xenogears and Chrono Cross. From the battle system to the story and even some visual glitches, it's a mess by endgame. It's hard to say if they ran out of budget or ran out of time, but you can tell that no one knew what they wanted by the end. Whining about censors doesn't excuse a broken battle system or a lack of playtesting. All these adaptations can't explain bad enemy placement or doing the same puzzle 3 times in a row to open a door. There was so much effort in trying to sell a brand, they forgot to work on the game. Every aspect in the battle system can be exploited, and you're left wondering if Pull to Win actually does anything. I can forgive the occasional visual glitch, but instantly restocking items or cheesing button inputs are too obvious to miss during bug testing. It gets worse when you consider there's a New Game Plus where you're forced to break the game. Sands of Destruction has everything I want from a game, and it's awful. I want a game that's like Xenogears that actually completed the second disc. I want a game that pushes the DS to its limits. I want a game that validates my Kemono and Giantess fetish. I want a game that gets crunchy with upgrades and different ways to attack enemies. But I do not recommend Sands of Destruction, and I certainly don't think it's a hidden gem. I love to break games, and I love to wax poetic about the story, but Sands of Destruction is a bad game that only gets by through name recognition. I don't recommend the adaptations either. They're a nice glimpse at what could have been, but it made me question if anyone knew what they wanted. A Sands of Destruction experienced what Final Fantasy XV would experience 8 years later. Tie-ins don't make a game good if the game can't stand on its own. I can forgive Luminous Arc 1 for being buggy and easy to break. It's Image Epic's first game. But with 3 games under Image Epic's belt, and with an all-star creative team, it's a disappointment. Sands of Destruction is the first Image Epic game to show trouble with its development tactics, and it's the first of many. Sands of Destruction is an Image Epic game through and through. And for the second time in the series, that's not a compliment. I didn't mind saying that for Detective Conan, but saying that for Sands of Destruction, well, it's the reason why this series is a post-mortem. And despite Sands of Destruction underperforming, the next game in the series uses the exact same strategies as Sands of Destruction, except it works. Next episode, we review Image Epic's other cash cow, Dragon. Until then,